Welcome, everybody. My name is Elder Armitage, and this is Sister Armitage. And we are missionaries for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And we are currently serving in the Budapest, Hungary mission. And we are in the beautiful city of Sopron. Today with us, we have Randy and Susan Bone. And they have returned from a mission or two, from what I understand, which we'll learn more about. And they're going to share their experiences with us and what type of mission they served, where they served, and we'll go with that. So, welcome and welcome to the
Thank
show.
you.
Thank you.
Yeah, you want to tell us?
Awesome.
Um, and I think, did you serve one mission or have you served two?
Just one.
Okay.
But we actually had two components. We were waiting for my visa, so we served for 3 months in the Salt Lake City headquarters mission in the Family Search Library, the Discovery Zone. So that was a lot of fun and we learned a lot there. But our call was to the Cali, Colombia mission as office specialists.
Oh, that's great. Okay. So tell us a little bit about your background and you came to serve a mission and what that process was like for you guys.
Okay, sure. Do you want to start?
Sure. We've been married 36 years. We have three children. They're all adults now. Our youngest is 25 and our oldest daughter is 32. And we lived in Arizona, California, Colorado, and back in Utah. That was because of my job. I was in sales and management for a paint company and a flooring company.
Yeah. And I was a stay-at-home mom while our kids were younger. And then I went back to the workforce and worked in health and wellness insurance. I was an account manager for an insurance broker and also went back to school during those years and finished my bachelor's and master's degrees during that time period.
Well, that's great.
Yeah.
Great. So, what led you guys to serving a mission?
Oh, it's a great story. Well, go ahead and start, Rand.
So, our whole married life, we've wanted to serve a mission, but we've always loved to travel. So I was visiting my mom one evening, and I was talking to her about what we wanted to do as far as possibly retiring early and traveling, and then possibly serving missions. And she gave me a counsel that you should serve your mission first, and then everything else would be added, and you'd receive the blessings that you need to continue on with your life. And unfortunately, a couple of days after that, she went in for a surgery and she had some complications and didn't recover. So at that point, we knew we were to serve a mission. And we began the process of trying to get things in our life ready so that we could serve a mission.
So we sold our house of 15 years and downsized dramatically. And we invested in some rental property that would help provide income while we were gone. And I was in my master's program at the time, so I wrapped up that. And when all of those little loose ends were tied up, then we submitted our papers and away we went.
Sure.
That is a great story. I love that. Yeah.
When you guys submitted your papers, did you know what type of mission you wanted to serve and where you wanted to serve?
Well, we'd also had another experience. And so in 2019, as Randy said, we love to travel. So we traveled to Colombia. This is where Randy had served his mission as a young missionary before we were married. And while we were visiting, we both had a very strong impression that we would be back to Colombia at one point in time to serve. So when we submitted our papers, we did put in requests for, they allowed us to put in 4 requests. 3 of those requests were for missions in Colombia. Cali office, Cali member leader support, Medellin member leader support. And then I throw a wild card in there because I have family in Germany and we requested a young single adult mission in Berlin, Germany. And So the one thing that Randy did not want to do
Is serving in an office.
is serve in an office, and he did
Familiar.
not want to be what is affectionately called the car czar, or the person that's in charge of the automobiles for the mission. So we were called to serve in Cali, Colombia, which was his original mission. And fortunately, they do not have cars there. So he did not have to worry about any missionary cars, but he was stuck in the office all day.
Well, if you were stuck in the office all day, what was some of your tasks and what did like a typical day or a week look like?
Sure.
So I was in charge of housing for the mission. So making sure that the missionaries had safe, secure houses. That included drawing up contracts yearly so that we could renew the houses. It also included trying to find new houses for the missionaries and also closing houses that were not acceptable or that we didn't need in that area at that time. So I had a chance to leave the office occasionally to go search out houses or help missionaries move. But the majority of the time we were in the office, usually 8 to 9 hours a day.
We also did some housing inspections. So we'd go travel around and be able to visit with the missionaries and do those housing inspections. And you also helped arrange for any repairs. So if we needed
Repairs for the houses, I had a handyman that I would call and he would go in and fix the houses if they had a leaky faucet or a toilet that wasn't working properly or issues like that. So it was more, we were supporting the missionaries temporarily at that time.
Yeah, absolutely. And
Oh,
And
I'm
then I
sure
was in
they
charge.
appreciated it.
Well, they had roofs over their heads, so that was a good thing. And they did appreciate it. They were very, very appreciative. And then I was in charge of the finances. So I was responsible to make sure the rents were paid, that any of our vendors were paid. So for example, that repairman that we used, he would submit an invoice and I would make sure that that got paid through the church's banking system. I had to pay all of the utilities. So we had about anywhere between 70 and 75 houses at any given time.
Wow.
And if you multiply each of those houses by 2 or 3 utility bills, the gas, the water, the electricity, I would pay all of those bills online because Colombia doesn't have a way to set up an auto pay for your utility payments. So those each had to be paid individually. We ordered materials and supplies for the missionaries, proselyting materials, things of that nature. We took care of any packages that came in and got those distributed. So really we ran.
So you pretty much ran the office.
Well,
Yeah.
We were the
Yeah.
only senior couple in the office. So
Wow.
there were a couple of young elders that were with us. They were over more of the visas and the
travel.
travel for the mission president and the missionaries. So we took care of the rest of the office for them.
Yeah.
And
You
we
both speak
trained new
Spanish?
missionaries that came.
Sorry.
Pardon me?
You both speak Spanish?
No, I do not.
I hadn't spoken
Okay.
Spanish for 38 years, so I had to learn
Yeah.
once again to speak Spanish.
Okay.
And
Okay.
and she worked on speaking Spanish. She learned to understand very well, but speaking it was still difficult for her
Yeah.
because mainly
Yeah.
in the office we spoke English.
Right.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So interesting. Did you do any tutoring through the MTC?
I started, but I was I was not as committed as I should have been. We had a lot of other things that were going on that made it a little bit difficult. I know I've loved hearing that you guys have been keeping up on learning your Hungarian, and that's awesome. But it was definitely available to me. I did start and I did go through a few sessions with the tutoring, which was helpful. And then just being around it all the time, you kind of pick up things.
As you know, as you get older, it's a little bit harder to pick those things up, new language.
Yes, we do know that for sure.
As a young missionary, you can pick things up really quickly. I think as you get a little older, it's a little bit more difficult to do that.
Yeah, we're kind of getting to the end of our allotted time with Hungarian, so our time is just about over.
Did you have any fears or concerns about when you got your mission call about going to Colombia or?
So my biggest concern, like I said, we'd been there before, and when we were there before, we actually stayed with one of Randy's mission companions from his mission, his first mission, and they didn't speak any English, and so it was a little. I realized how tricky it was to communicate with people when you have that language barrier and trying to have somebody translate. So I was a little bit nervous about feeling isolated. Um, that was the case to some extent, but like we said, we had the young elders with us a lot, and they all spoke English. They were all Americans or from the United States. And so it wasn't as bad as I thought it would be, but it was tricky, and I had to find ways around that. I had to find ways of connecting with people without using language, which I did.
I guess my concern was trying to pick up the language again after 38 years and be able to communicate and work with these landlords and be able to set up contracts with them. Fortunately, I was able to do that, which is a miracle in itself. But then also the fear of just safety. When I was back there, when I was on my mission in 85 to 87, it was extremely dangerous. It was during Pablo Escobar and the drug trade. So I was a little bit concerned about our safety there. But after we visited there 6 years ago, we determined it was safe enough for us to return back.
We still had to be very aware of our surroundings, and I didn't go out by myself, but we were fine.
We wouldn't go out at night. Usually we stayed indoors at night, just for our own safety.
Yeah.
So, with finances, did you find that the cost that you had every month was about the same as what was on the website, the projected cost?
We could have probably stayed within the projected cost. However, we fed the missionaries quite frequently. The food in Colombia is very bland and very limited in their selection if you have a Colombian diet. We did have resources to purchase foods that were much more familiar to us, and so we utilized those resources, but they were considerably more expensive. So I would say overall, we spent probably anywhere between 10 and 20% more than what was projected. That was of our own choosing. Like I said, we could have kept it under that. We also did some.
On P days, we like to do excursions too. And obviously, as you know, that increases the cost. So that wasn't really
Definitely.
considered part of the budget, but it did increase the cost of living there in Colombia. But it was
Mhm.
worth it. You need
Yeah.
you need to learn the
Oh,
culture
yeah.
and things that are there.
Yeah, get out and see the sights.
No, for sure.
What kind of things did you do on P days?
Oh, goodness. Anything from, they have vehicles that they call Jeepettos, which is kind of like a cross between a World War II Jeep in the front and a pickup truck with benches along the sides in the back. And you can hop on those, and for about 75 cents, they'll drive you just about anywhere in the city. They have like a route, like a bus route. So we'd hop on the Geppetto and go somewhere and try to see the sights in the city. We went to the public library.
We went up with the missionaries to Cristo Rey, which is similar to Christ the Redeemer, but a lot smaller, on top of a little hill. That was kind of cool. I also had a chance to hike up to Tres Cruces, which is also a little hike up the hill.
The Three Crosses. It's a very Catholic community.
One time we flew kites. I mean, we did some fun things on Mondays, which was our P day.
Yeah, there was a lovely river that was about 45 minutes away, and they built sort of a park area. It was very nice, and it was very hot there, so it was lovely to be able to go and get in the river. As you know, senior missionaries are allowed to go swimming and do those kinds of things, and so that was lovely.
That is lovely.
It is. It was so fun.
Uh,
Is there a temple in your mission?
They just broke ground the day after we left on March 1st. So we've been home
No.
2 weeks, not quite two
Wow.
weeks now.
Wow,
Wow.
So we
that's so
did have the
exciting.
opportunity to go to Bogota Temple a
Yes.
few times.
Mhm.
We'd
Okay.
fly there, spend a
Hmm.
couple days, so we'd have a chance to go to the temple. But
Yeah.
in the mission, there's not a temple currently.
Right. Few
Okay.
more
So it is
years.
nice that you got to go to the temple, even if it was outside your
Yes.
mission. That's great.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, that was lovely.
were there other senior missionaries? Like, how many other seniors were in your mission?
So when we started, we were the only senior missionaries. We had replaced another couple who had been the first senior missionaries in that mission in 8 years. So there was
Wow.
a very long drought. And then there was a couple ahead of us, and then we came in, and we didn't anticipate any other senior missionaries coming, but we were so blessed and so grateful to have two other couples come. One couple was they were native Colombians, and they came for 6 months, and they served in a town about 3 hours north of us. And then we had another couple come from the United States, and he had also served his mission in Cali a few years before Randy, and they served in a town about 3, 4 hours south of us. So we didn't have a lot of interaction, unfortunately, but it really was just good to know that there were other senior couples out there with us.
And Sue could call and commiserate with them, and
Yeah.
A little bit. I mean, mostly just, it was just nice to be able to speak to another adult
Yes.
in English. Yeah.
Yes,
So that was
definitely.
cool.
We love our relationship with the other seniors. It's fun.
Yeah.
Um,
Was there, when you got there, was there anything that you wish that you had brought with you or not brought with you?
So I was not really well prepared for the climate. I knew it would be hot and humid, but I really had no idea. And so the shoes that I brought and the clothes that I brought, I probably would have brought more clothes. I would have brought either, or I probably maybe would have waited till we got there to purchase. I ended up buying a few dresses and things there because they were more suited to the climate. And then shoes were a big thing. We both wore through 2 sets of walking shoes doing our daily exercise, and there are no level surfaces there. So walking is tricky. You've got to be careful that you're not going to trip. And so I had brought some cute little heeled sandals, and those were out. That was not going to work. So, fortunately, one of the biggest blessings that we had was Amazon delivered to our office. So
Wow.
we were able to order new walking shoes. I was able to order a couple of additional pairs of shoes that were more suited to the walking conditions, and that was mainly it. Like I said, there's a club supermarket like Costco there called Price Smart, so we were able to get a lot of American foods or things that we were used to, and yeah, we found plenty of expat grocery stores that we could get things that we needed.
that's great.
I had brought two suits, and I really didn't need a suit except for maybe zone conferences. So
Mhm.
I'd probably just have brought one suit
Mhm.
because it's about 80 degrees and 100% humidity all the time. So there's no
Yeah.
need for that.
No.
But other than that, I felt pretty prepared.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I have a question then, another question. Um, for missionaries or for couples that are thinking about going out on a mission or for an office mission, do you recommend it?
Um, Definitely recommend serving. One of the best experiences. I learned so much, and I'm so grateful. We fell in love with the ward members. That's one advantage to being senior missionaries is you're not bouncing around like the young missionaries are. And so we really developed some very strong relationships with the people that we will be friends forever with them. That was fantastic. Serving in the office definitely had its challenges, especially as the only senior couple. Obviously, all missions are different throughout the world. And so our office mission would not be the same as another person's office mission where you may have 3 or 4 couples in the office and you get to connect with each other. So as we talked about this extensively during our time there, we absolutely will serve another mission. But we probably will request something a lot more along the lines of the member leader support, because I don't think you have as rigid a schedule. We literally, it was a job. We worked Tuesday through Saturday from 10 in the morning until usually about 5:30 or 6 o'clock at night. And that took a toll. I mean, it was like going to an office every day. If we'd had additional couples there, I don't think it would have been quite as time consuming. But that was kind of rough. So our choices would be member leader support, or again, the young single adults, because we absolutely loved being with those young people. They are spectacular, awesome,
They are.
so much fun.
They
Yeah.
are. We
For sure.
love them.
The missionaries are awesome.
So
Exactly.
just then to kind of wrap things up, is there anything that we didn't ask you, or any experiences that you had that you want to share?
I was just going to say one advantage to working in the office, going back to that, is we got to meet every single missionary that came through the office. And when we first got to the mission, we got to travel to all the different zones and meet all the missionaries to begin with. So we had that relationship which was awesome.
Yeah,
to be with
that is true. And then as they came in as new missionaries, we would have an orientation with them. So we got to meet them and spend a little time. We had a lot of regular communication with them between the finances and the housing. So we got to know them. We got to know most all the missionaries. Whereas if you're in a member leader support situation, you get to know the missionaries who are there in your area really well, but you probably don't have as much contact with anyone that doesn't serve in your area.
Yes.
I would
Great.
I'd say the main thing was love the people, regardless where you're at.
Yeah.
Love the young missionaries, love the members you're serving with. Don't judge, don't try to change the way they do things.
Yeah.
Just love them and they'll love you back.
Love them and show up for all their fun activities.
Even though Sue didn't really speak the language, she spoke the language of love, and the people were just attracted to her and her personality, regardless of not speaking the language.
That was a lot of fun.
I love that.
That was great.
Well, good. Look, we're going to wrap it up here. I see we got 10 seconds. So we would love to say thank you for sharing your comments and your thoughts and your experiences on your mission with us. Again, this is Randy and Susan Bone, and they served in the Colombia Cali mission.